If you're just joining, I am Trustee Adam Winston. Is that you, Miss Mary?
Yes, I'm trying to bring it to, okay, I'm
There
into
it is.
view.
There
Okay.
it is. So I just got on, so bear with me. If you're just joining, I just got my back from baseball practice because I coached the kids.
Okay.
And so now I'm here and I am trying to get myself all set up and squared away.
No worries. I'm good.
Things. So how are you today?
All is well. All is well. Just I will pop on for a sec with you guys and then
beautiful. Well, we are. I do this week. I'm going to be trying something completely different.
Okay.
So this week I'm going to be using YouTube. I'm going to also be streaming on YouTube because the Facebook somehow I don't know how to do it all. Okay, I can only do YouTube or Facebook. I can't do everything.
I understand
at one time, but my hope is that I will figure this out somehow. Miss Navarro, Carmen, how are you? Happy Mother. Listen, happy Mother's Day. I wanted to make sure I say that to everybody. I know it's a day after Mother's Day, but I tried to make my rounds. Today's show will be focused on Mother's Day, to be honest with you. It's just a candid conversation. People like us, more or less you guys, because I'm not a mother. At least some people say I am, but I'm not an official mother. Hi, Michelle. But we're going to focus on moms and mothers, and the difficulties is to kind of balance these two. This gives our audience, the people who love the show, and it has become something that people really, really enjoy. It gives them a chance to see you not only as this dynamic candidate that's running for office, but somebody that's real, right? Sometimes we have these shows in different platforms where they ask you a question, you prepare for the question, you know how to answer. That's not how we do on Tea and Conversation. We just drink our tea, we have a candid conversation, we talk that talk, and then we move on and let the audience ask questions. So today's format is going to be a little bit different, Michelle, because I am streaming live on YouTube. So if somebody else can stream on Facebook, go ahead. I can't look at YouTube, Facebook. I can't do it all. I don't have a producing studio, but I'm going to do the best I can to try to manage the amount of everything. It's just too many people reaching out at me. But in any event, Miss Mary, welcome to the show. This is Tea and Conversation. I am super excited. Anytime that I get candidates and people from across Cook County, it is already, everybody seems like they're in their silos, right? So it's always nice to reach across, Cook County, because Cook County has 36 villages and towns. Mm-hmm. So it's really, really nice to be able to reach all the way across and get some new people from that side of town. The same with you, Miss Carmen. I am listen, I can't believe I don't have as many people on the show that's going to probably be on here any minute. But there are a ton of people that just want to know you. They've all been saying, I want to know Carmen. What's going on with Carmen? So I am looking forward to Carmen just taking this show where I can just sit back and just listen. I'm just going to sit back and listen. So I am looking forward to that. Welcome to Tea and Conversation. We do this every Monday. So this is not any script. So if you're looking for a scripted show, this is not what happens. This is a show where people just ask questions, ask you those questions, and hopefully you will entertain them. So let's start. Miss Mary, how are things going with you? Why don't you tell us about you? I know that you were running for committee person in Proviso. Yeah. So tell us how that's going.
Thank you so much. And once again, thank you for the invite, Mr. Adams, and to the young lady. Hey, it's good to be on when another young lady is present.
Yes.
And I want to state to the audience first, if you would grace me, to say happy belated Mother Day to the mothers. But anyway, I am Dr. Mary May Larry, and I'm candidate for Proviso Township Committee person. But anybody know when you're in this race and you're running against an incumbent, you're going to run up to a lot of hiccups. So this is where I'm at. So it looked like neither one of us, if we went by the 2020 numbers, didn't meet that bench. But, they want to toss the non-incumbent off. So we're battling back and forth in court.
So wait a minute, Miss Berry, let me jump in here. So you're saying that the numbers are wrong. What can you go into a little bit more details?
Right. Evidently, the individual quoted the 2018 numbers versus the 2020 numbers. And therefore, neither one of us would have met that benchmark. And here's the thing, I was sent to a record examination. All politicians know, and those persons that new to this, that means they'll take you in and look at all your signatures and see which one of them is acceptable and which one is not. So the incumbent did not go for the record examination. So we really didn't even have a benchmark at all to know what those numbers was. So what I'm asking for the listening audience, hey, call the electoral board. Say, I just heard a young lady named Mary May Larry running for a committee person of Proviso Township. And I would like to know why is one candidate was accepted to the ballot and this young lady is being challenged. So we can play our part. You know, things happen. I often say when good people stand by and do what? Do nothing. So we have our voice, we have our ability to inquire, to question. And in reference to Proviso Township, you may have family and friends once we get all of this sorted out. It's 14 villages. It encompasses Bellwood, Berkeley, Broadview, Brookfield, Forest Park, Hillside, LaGrange, Maywood.
So who's the current? So you're running for committee person, and
correct.
So I just want to make sure that the audience understands. Who is the current committee person for that particular seat that you're running for?
Karen Yarbrough is the current committee person for that particular seat.
The clerk. So the clerk.
Correct. And so I'm asking your listening audience, hey, you're more than welcome to call in and say, hey, give this young lady a chance. You know, it's our constitutional right to your audience that's listening to run for office. And I submit to each of you, hey, step up to the plate. If this is something you want to do, give it a shot. You have the right, you have the wherewithal to get it done. At this point, I'm asking you to support me in any way you can. You can Google Dr. Mary May Larry and my website will come up. So I look forward to dialoguing with you. And before I conclude, I left off on about 4 of my villages that if the Lord say the same, I would be able to work with those mayors. The village of North Lake, the village of Stone Park, the village of Westchester, and finally, the village of Western Spring. Those are the 14 villages. Thank you so much.
You're very well. Miss Mary, don't go nowhere yet. Miss Carmen, you know, listen, I'm ready for you, okay? I reached out to, so listen, I reached out to Carmen, and I'm just telling my audience this. I reached out to Carmen. I saw, and you and I have been Facebook friends, but I never pinged you. I kind of, you know, it's like, you know everything about a person's life, but I ain't never even talked to you. But so just looking at you over the years and your family and everything, so I feel like I know you, even though it's just a Facebook friend, you know. But when I saw your Facebook video last week, right, you know, I'm not gonna cry, but your video and your story, I mean, it really just broke my heart just hearing, because I know as a candidate myself, I've run for office, I've been challenged, I've been kicked off of the ballot, I've been challenged, I've been kicked off a ballot after I thought I was safe on a ballot. I didn't even know you could kick a person off a ballot after you get on the ballot and get certified. So if anybody knows how to get kicked off, it's yours truly. But your story, oh my God, it really breaks my heart. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers that are on here. Tell us who you are, Carmen, before you go into this, because I want the audience to know, because if they sense the things that I felt, I'm feeling some kind of way. But tell us who you are, Miss Carmen.
Well, thank you very much, first of all, Adam, for reaching out. And Mary, good luck to you as well during this time. My name is Carmen Navarro-Dracone, and I'm a candidate for Cook County Sheriff. I am a wife. I have 5 beautiful children, range in age from 30 The youngest is 17, a senior in high school. That's who you're going to see walking behind me with the bad hair, because apparently 17-year-olds do not brush their hair these days.
Showers either.
No, I don't understand what that's about. And I have 4 grandchildren, two of which I have custody of. And I'm a law enforcement professional. I worked for the Cook County Sheriff's Office for 26 years. I started in 1994. When I was a single mother, I was on public aid, and I wanted to find a career so I can take care of my family. Fast forward, I now am the executive clerk for court operations for the clerk of the circuit court, Iris Martinez. And I decided to throw my hat in the ring because of everything I just said. Right now, the rising crime, no one's going to protect my family and do what I need them to do for my family like me. Sitting back and watching our current criminal justice leaders point fingers at each other was not working for me. And I knew it was going to be tough. I'm not going to lie. I was told when I started this, are you crazy? Tom Dart's been in office 16 years. He's a lifelong politician. You're going to need $1 million to run against him in the party. And my answer then is the same as my answer now. I was a single mother on public aid when I started the sheriff's office. I know how to stretch a dollar. And that's exactly what I've done. I started last year, have only been able to raise $40,000 thus far, but here we are in May, and I'm still here. The challenges that Mary just talked about are all too familiar. My signatures were challenged. I made it through, and now the man I worked for 19 years, where I ran the second largest department in that office. I attended the FBI Academy. I teach law enforcement across the state. And now suddenly, because they passed a law during the lame duck session in the midnight hour to change the qualifications to run for an office, I find myself in court to get back on the ballot. They decided I'm not qualified.
So tell me about that, because I really, as I listen to, you know, the uniqueness. First thing, both of you, Miss Mary and Carmen, I mean, really, Miss Mary, I mean, looking at the election booklet where it says it has 2018, it has 2018 numbers in terms of what the signatures are. I know I'm running for committeeman, and mine says 2021, right? Yours says 2018. As a candidate, you know, you got enough things to look at, right? And now you got to worry about the book, the information in the book being wrong, right? And now you're being kicked off a ballot, not necessarily because of anything you did, the number of signature required that was outlined. And what makes that even more important in this particular election is that it was the COVID, so they lowered the number. So nobody really kind of understood. What is your lawyer saying in terms of helping you? And then Ms. Carmen, your case, you're in law enforcement. So I mean, what is going on?
Right. My attorney is battling back and forth in court. It was an administrative error. And in the natural, we would think that an individual would say, hey, I apologize. It was an error. Let us try to reason together. But in this case, it did not. It appears that the incumbents across the board is a campaign to shut out newcomers from trying to throw their hat into the race. And it's sad. It's pushing back against the poor, the people that do have a right, a constitutional right to run for office. It's a lot of kickback. And it's really sad. I have always served the community. My son went to Columbia, graduated from Columbia, I have a mentoring program. I have served the community. And what I want to do is continue to serve the community by broadening the horizons. But it's hiccup after hiccup. And it's sad. But once again, evil prevail when good people stand by and do nothing. All it takes, call down to the election board and just bring it up. Ask the question, what is going on? This young lady have a right to serve on the ballot and be placed on the ballot to have ballot access. And Carmen, my prayers are with you as well.
So okay, so you're You're Miss Mary. Are you challenging this, or you just? I mean, are you just
Yes,
exhausted?
I'm challenging. It's in
Okay.
court. It's
Okay.
in court.
Okay.
Yes.
And Ms. Carmen, why don't you tell us, how do you get here? And that's what really just yanked and tugged at my heartstrings. You are a law professional. How did we get here? I just don't understand why your experience as a law enforcement, it doesn't count. Tell me, explain to the people, because I can't understand it.
Yeah, it's how we got here is that at every step, I hope that somebody will do the right thing. And I'm disappointed when I find that they don't. And I get frustrated and I keep fighting on. How we got here is, in 2020, I decided to take a leave of absence. There's one thing that our Democratic Party forgets, that there is a difference between diversity and inclusion. And as much as they tout it, that along with voter access, they're not putting their money where their mouth is. They believe in voter access, but they want to tell you who to vote for, which is the ballot access point that Mary just brought up. Oh yeah, we want to make sure you can get in there and vote, but let us control who gets on the ballot.
Yeah.
And that's how they're getting it both ways. So the way we got here is, once I left, rumors started that I left because I was going to be running for sheriff. That was the last thing on my mind. I've never, ever run for public office, not even in school, student council, none of that mattered to me. I'm more of a worker. I never thought of serving that way, because being a politician had kind of a negative connotation to me, working in the sheriff's office all those years. You see people that get hired and come in to be your boss, and you're stuck training them and showing him how to do the job simply because of who they know. And so I never wanted to be that person. So I left the sheriff's office to go to the clerk's office to kind of have more opportunity, to go to a place where inclusion was real. And Iris Martinez gave me that opportunity. She not only invited me to sit at the table, she gave me a voice. And that was something that was lacking for me at the sheriff's office. It allowed me to grow in such a manner that watching the way she works and she's functioned motivated me to say, you know what? If I can run an office like that, I can do this. I'm going to run for sheriff. I didn't know that by then. They had already worked very hard, and by they, the legislators, had worked very hard in the Safety Act in the second to last page of a 700-page bill, they slid in an extra qualification to run for sheriff. So the first question I want everyone to ask themselves is, what was the purpose of this safety bill? The purpose of the safety bill was to help bridge and rebuild the trust and communication between law enforcement and the community. All these laws that were adversely affecting the Black and brown communities in our state. What does the qualification for sheriff have to do with that? That it had to be snuck in without a proper reading in the middle of the night, the day that the governor had to sign the bill. So what that says is you have to have a basic law enforcement certification as prescribed by the Illinois Training Standards Board, or substantially similar training. The state only recognizes 2 trainings: corrections or police, cop school, basically. In Cook County, we know that in the sheriff's office, we're deputized. We receive 11 weeks of training right off the bat, and we get to, we get trained in arrests and warrants. It's what I did for 26 years. 20 years I ran the street. And I'm able to, I received the substantially similar training.
Yes.
I also attended the FBI National Academy in 2013, which you have to be law enforcement to attend, and only 1% of law enforcement in the world gets to attend. But even with all that, the sheriff challenged my qualifications. The Illinois Training Standards Board admits that they did not develop a process to review my over 1,300 hours of training, yet decided that they can still determine that I'm not qualified and don't have substantially similar qualifications just based on the fact that I don't have that certification. That was not required to do my job in the first place.
So Miss Carmen, thank you for sharing that. So when you were running for sheriff, and you decided to run for sheriff, in the book, was that clearly articulated? Was it explained? You know, like if it says clearly, if you're a felon, you can't run for office, right? Was any of that information kind of like, if you're running for the assessor office, there are certain qualifiers that they identify early on. You got to have this if you're going to be running for the assessor. So, you know, were any of those things detailed in the book?
No, they were not. And actually, back in February, when I started to ask questions about how to get this done, January and February, when we found out, because the law just went into effect in January of this year, and it exempted current sitting sheriffs. So if you were already a sheriff, you were exempt from this new provision in the law. So apparently, in one of Tom Dart's quotes, he said he wasn't even aware of it. A lot of the legislators weren't aware of it because it was in the second to last page. So if they didn't know about it, how are we going to know about it?
So if he didn't know about it, who decided that they were going to use this as an obstacle to kind of keep you off the ballot?
Well, conveniently, it was discovered when we started to ask questions. I wasn't the only one that asked questions. There were a lot of candidates who were considering running for sheriff of Cook County who, when we all kind of found out in January, kind of around the same time about this new law, they decided, oh, I don't have a basic law enforcement certification, so I'm not going to run. When I read the law, I looked at the or. It says or substantially similar training of another state or federal government. And I also read the law, and it didn't say that the training board was to make that determination. So I started communicating with the training board and asking them, have you developed a process for reviewing my training? No, we have not. Well, what do I need to do? Well, you can't submit it. Your department has to submit it. I went to the clerk and I said, well, you're my department, submit the training. Then the training board responds, no, the clerk's office isn't a police department. We can't review your records. So I asked them again, are you going to develop a process? No, we don't have a process and we're not going to develop one. It's going to be up to the electoral board. That was their response to me in writing. So I stopped. I went ahead, finished my signature collections. I filed my petition for candidacy, knowing that I had the substantially similar training and that it would be up to the electoral board if I was challenged. Conveniently, the Illinois Training Standards Board, which, by the way, Tom Dart sits on the committee for training, decided now that they would have a say in it and that they would decide that the decision was theirs, not up to the electoral board. And I don't have a certificate and I don't have a training, and that the FBI doesn't count and the over 800 hours from the sheriff's office doesn't count because they don't accept piecemeal. And that was the end of it. The larger argument is what Mary mentioned earlier. It's a constitutional right to run for public office. Yeah. And I have all the qualifications. But even if there's somebody and they're saying I don't qualify, and so far he's been supported in that. So imagine how difficult it's going to be for somebody else. If the whole point was to bridge this gap and you had all these groups fighting, the movement for defund the police and that we needed criminal justice reform. What if somebody in one of those groups wanted to run for office right now? The law actually requires that they go to a cop's school, which goes against their fundamental belief of what's wrong with the system. Yet that's the law our legislators enacted inside of this bill. And it goes against the Constitution.
Do you know the legislators that signed that bill?
It was, the governor signed it. The ones who were behind the entire bill were Sims and Slaughter. But the Illinois Sheriff's Association is the one who drafted and proposed that language. But it looked completely different on the night before it was given to the governor. In the versions it showed in before, it didn't apply to Cook County. But at 3 a.m, right before they gave it to the governor the next morning, all of a sudden it applied to everyone in the state, which inherently protected Tom Dart as well.
Yes, man. This all just seems almost unbelievable. Many of the candidates, and I've been saying this for the longest time, that everybody has, I don't care, what side of the fence you are. If you're running for office, you actually think that you can make a difference. And it just seems like with all of the desire to try to make a difference, there are these loopholes. So where are you at this moment in terms of your challenge? Are you fighting this? Are you taking it to the next level? I don't know if you can expect anything different out of judicial, out of circuit. Are you going all the way up? Where are you going with this?
My mother taught me that you don't start something that you're not willing to finish.
Okay.
So
that's what I like to hear.
we started it. We actually filed on Friday. We were in court today at 1:30. And believe it or not, everyone was served and everyone appeared. What was a surprise to me is that appearing on behalf of the objectors, which
one.
Somebody's got their, if you
Baby, B-A-B-Y, Wabbits, W-A-B-B-Y,
hey,
one.
Tanya, how are you?
Okay, I'm putting her on mute. Go ahead.
The issue of one of the attorneys that showed up to represent the objectors, by the way, one of the objectors is Tom Dart's campaign manager, who also used to work for me, was Anthony Thomas Giaconetti, which was surprising to me because that just, again, goes to show how willing the party itself is to protect their incumbents. I'm just a, we'll just say over 21-year-old woman.
Okay.
Who is married, has children and grandchildren, who wants to do what's best and do a job, and to see the party that I love fighting so hard to make sure that the voters do not have a choice and to make sure that Tom Dart does not have a viable challenger. And I say viable because yes, there is one person against Tom Dart on the ballot now. I'm going to argue that he is not a viable candidate. If I felt he was, I would have backed out and backed him in this. That's not why we do things. But it's crazy to me that they're going to such lengths to keep, especially women of color. I saw LaTanya speaking earlier. She met her own challenges as well. And this whole act was supposed to be, again, to bridge the gap and create a stronger bridge between law enforcement and the Black and brown communities. And the challenges women in general, as Ms. Mary said earlier, we face to even get on the ballot and run for office. And yet Tom Dart has managed to knock off 2 women of color. That is amazing.
But Ms. Carmen, and thank you for that. But in Mary's case, there's 2 women of color, right? And this another woman of color is challenging another woman of color. And I don't know all the circumstances of her challenge, but Ms. Mary, were you served? Did you get paperwork that even tells you, why she's able to stay on the ballot and why you aren't?
Thank you for that question. And this is what the attorney is arguing. I was never served that I was on the ballot, off the ballot, or none of these things. So it's a lot of problems with the whole dynamic of being on the ballot. So it's just awful. And just hearing Karma talking about what she's going through. But I want to say this because I serve on multiple group, one as a Business Professional Women Federation, locally as the president, and worldwide as the vice president of the Business and Professional Women Federation. So saying that, I know I'm gonna have to leave from the Zoom, but I thank you so much for inviting me. But I just want her to be encouraged. Carmen, this is a dawn of a new day. We have a fundamental right for ballot access, and we're going to keep fighting. We're not going to quit. We're not going to throw in the towel. Listen, like they often say, we have our big girl panties on. We're going to fight to the end. And just remember, the upcoming election is on Tuesday, June 28th. Look for her name. Look for Mary May Larry's name. Call your neighbor, call your friends, ask them to show out and show up, and let the incumbents know across the board, you can no longer shut the people out.
Hello, can I say something? Hey, can I say something?
Yes.
How's everybody doing?
Hi, Miss Ruffin. How are you? Welcome to Tea and Conversation. You got all of the rock stars here today, and you are in great company, Miss Ruffin.
So let me just briefly say the difference between Carmen and I and what's going on. I was put on the ballot. I went through all challenges. And the only thing right now that challenges is my name, and it is over with. The law is the law. I will be on the ballot. See, they put me on there, and then the election board overturned it 3-1, which was Iris Martinez, Kim Fox, and Karen Yarbrough. But that's a biased board. But you can't tell me I can't use my birth name. So it is over with, and that's the last challenge, and we would know by next week, and it is done.
So Miss Ruffin, what do you exactly are you mentioning? You're saying that they won't allow you to use your
No, what they challenged me on, my birth name. They say I never voted in LaTanya Ruffin. And my voter registration card, they put 3 printed cards saying LaTanya Ruffin. I am LaTanya Ruffin. And they changed the law when it was like Karen Mosley Brown in 1998. There was a problem with women hyphenate their name. But because of that, in 2004, it was changed. So the law, can I say the law is in my corner? I will be on the ballot next week because my name is law. You cannot, my divorce decree say I can use Ruffin as C. It's a decree. It's a law. It's a divorce paper. They didn't have nothing else. So they had to go pick something else. Listen, I was challenged by 3 people and they kept me down, but I kept fighting it. I knew I had my signatures. I did everything right. Miss Goodman put me on the ballot. Can I say it again? Miss Goodman put me on the ballot. The next day, the electoral board, your name. It's okay. I will be on there. I can use my name. When the law is in your corner, the law is the law. And that's where we at.
And thank you very much for that, Ms. Ruffin. But in Carmen's situation, the law is the law too, right? I mean, she's a law enforcement agent. I am just dumbfounded by some of the technicalities that they're using to try to.
Well, the one thing about me, no mean to interrupt you, I did go to the academy in 2009. Okay. I went to the police academy. I've been a police and law enforcement officer since 2009. They tried, but when I got there, they threw it out. Oh, she qualifies. They knew I qualified.
Okay.
They did try though. They did try.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there will be, if not both of us on there, it will definitely be one of us on there. So hopefully that we can all just see where it's going, becoming as one. It will be a person of color on that ballot.
Yes.
Yeah, and Adam, the difference is also that, there's, when you run a campaign, it's politics and it's political. And there's one thing to be backhanded. LaTanya knew I was challenging her signatures. I'm one of the ones who challenged LaTanya's signatures because the political game is there can't be 2 women on the ballot because you split the vote, right? And yes. LaTanya and I had a conversation. I said, if you have the signatures, then don't worry about it. We move on. And that's what we did. The problem is that everyone else, we played by the rules. Everyone else was backhanded behind us and really use that democratic machine that everyone thinks it's like the boogeyman. It really does exist. It really does exist. Like they're like, oh, you're going to need this. This is the political No, it exists. And like I said, it exists in such a way from the start of the loyalty pledge back in October to the changing of the law in the middle of the night, to the attorney for the Democratic Party appearing in court, against me in court today. It exists. To my name is Carmen Navarro Dracone. It's not hyphenated. That's my name.
They challenge you today?
No. But here's the difference, Latanya. My name's not hyphenated. They use the hyphen against you.
But you do know the law.
Oh, no, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying they look at any way. Yeah.
But the law is in my favor. My divorce decree, heck, I heard you can use a nickname. My divorce decree, I can use Ruffin, and I use Ruffin. You can't go against the law. So it will be done. Carmen, it'll be done. And then maybe, we can sit back and whatever we need to do. But it will be done and over with.
What did I say? We all agree it can't be Dart, Adam. That's one thing we all agree on. It can't be Tom Dart.
And it seems like that's the consensus. It seems like people are sick of Dart, but it seems like Dart has found he went nuclear on everybody, and he's found a magical way to try to get rid of everybody. Let's go to some questions. What are your questions? We have Carmen Navarro. She is on. Miss Ruffin is on. What are your questions? Jen, I know you've been jumping up out of that seat. What are some of your questions?
Well, no, this is why I keep saying in Illinois, like the petition thing is a fraud. Like the whole petition drive. We don't have to do this in Indiana. Like my clients don't have this problem in Indiana. They got a problem if you try to run as an independent on a Democrat like that one guy did, but that's because he messed up, not because they're trying to kick you off, right? Mm-hmm. And they don't have this issue. They only have this issue when they're running for United States Senate, right? Then that's when you have to do a petition drive because that's the highest seat, or a governor. But all the local candidates, anything below those, they're automatically on the ballot. They fill out a sheet of paper, say I'm a Democrat, that's it, you on the ballot. They get 5 or 6 different candidates, which guess what that means? Diversity. You get to hear different
competition options. Is good for the incumbent.
It is, and it's good. And it actually just plays out a lot better out there. Now take it that the Democrats on the opposite side over there and the Republicans run everything, but it's still a fair process. This process that we have right now, it's not fair, especially like Carmen said, it's not fair if you're a woman of color. And that's why we were even talking about before this election year of starting just a pack here just for women of color, because we're already just disenfranchised so much. It's so hard for women of color just to get on the ballot, and it shouldn't be like this. And also, who's blocking these women of color to getting on the ballot? A lot of times it's other women of color.
Yes, it is. Yes,
because they don't want to share that. They don't want to share that, which that needs to stop too. If we all sisters, we can all break bread evenly. It's enough to go around for everybody. So what is the answer? And if you're just joining, welcome to Tea and Conversation. We are talking to mothers that are also candidates that are running for office. I'm excited because I get to meet some of them, some awesome women here on this particular show. And I am excited by the possibilities. I'm like with you, I know we need to do something different, right? And I know that at this particular point, I think that we've had enough years of a particular candidate in office. I think that the process should be the process. Allow people to make the decision and vote for those candidates that they see reflect them. I don't see anything wrong with that. And I don't know if we're going to be able to change it, right? I don't know if we can change it right now. And I think that some of the fighting has to be done in between some of these elections, right? We wait until it's a petition drive, right? And then we get all outraged. But then after the election, we go right back to our respective corners, and we don't work enough together to make certain that there is that voter access. What are some things that we can do to improve this system as we move forward? Miss Mary May Larry, I mean, to get the wrong number and be removed for an administrative error, that seems absolutely just insulting. To take a woman who does, they have hyphenated names. Like, to me, this seems like a no-brainer.
But you know what? The law is already in place. Mm-hmm. We just got to make sure we got good, attorneys to make sure and bring it out. It will come out you always see I will be on the ballot. The law is the law. They can't go around it. The electoral board, they just did what they thought they can do. But that's the board we need to be dealt with. You can't go and change a hearing officer's decision. She put me on the ballot, Adam. You can't do that. What are you doing? And then you're talking about my name? The law is the law. I will be on the ballot.
Carmen, have you looked into the relationships that some of these people may have with some of the hearing officers? I mean,
they voted. Yeah, the hearing officer from the get-go voted to that my name not be on the ballot. And then the electoral board confirmed that my name would not be on the ballot. But here's the thing, the state's attorney ruled that she gave administrative deference. They didn't rule that I didn't have the qualifications. They ruled that the Illinois Law Enforcement and Training and Standards Board was the board to make the decision. That's what the state's attorney decided. And Judge Chevrolet, who was Clerk Martinez's representative, who, yes, is who I work for, they also voted, she voted to to put my name on the ballot. The other two voted to put it off. But again, it was because of administrative deference to a board who initially said that they weren't going to make a decision because it wasn't up to them. And the law didn't say it was up to them. And then again, Tom Dart sits on the committee for training for them. And miraculously, they've changed their mind. But I'm going to fight it because, again, the sheriff's office is a constitution office. So in Illinois, the qualifications to run for sheriff are outlined in the Constitution. It's not something that legislators can just change. But you can't argue that at the administrative board level.
No.
So the argument at the administrative level was just that I have the substantially similar training. And I do. I have over 1,300 hours. And as Ms. Ruffin knows, when you go to the Cook County Sheriff's Academy, you don't just get 200 hours and 5 weeks. You get 440 hours and 11 and a half weeks. And you get law enforcement training, and you are a law enforcement officer. You don't get a basic law enforcement certification because you don't need one when the sheriff deputizes you to do a job. That's why you don't need this certification. So then to come to the end and been told that you don't have that certification, well, I didn't need it for 26 years to do my job because we function as law enforcement officers under the Peace Officers Act. We make arrests, we serve arrest warrants. I did seizure warrants for firearms. Every deputy in the Cook County Sheriff's Office is a law enforcement officer and they get trained as such. Even without me going to the FBI Academy, I had substantially similar training. If I'm not doing the job I should be doing in 4 years, anyone in that office, anyone in the state of Illinois, anyone in Cook County should be able to run for Cook County Sheriff. It was good enough for Tom Dart for the last 16 years. And it was going to be good enough for him for the next 4 years because he was exempted from the new law. But the rest of us coming up to challenge, it's not good enough. That makes no sense.
But is it kind of like what they do with patents, right? Once the inventor comes out with something, then he makes it harder for somebody to take that idea. Is it one of those things?
No, in this case, it was just that, I don't know. I guess that's the last strong, you know what? I don't, my mother taught me, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it. So I'm at the point of frustration that I'm just going to stop right there a second and see if LaTanya wants to jump back in, because if I can't,
I know, Carmen.
I need a minute.
I know. But
hey, let me just say this, but all of this can be negated, right? If we just end the petition chat, like this is all stupid.
Yeah, but what do we do right now, Jen? So what do we do right now?
So that's why I said what I'm trying to do coming up, and this is what I'm talking about before our next major election cycle, is that we are trying to, me and a couple of my colleagues are trying to organize a PAC. And the PAC is going to be similar to what they did in Dallas with the Black women judges. And so I don't want to name drop, but I've been talking to Miss Abrams' people, and I've been talking to Mr. Biden's people. And we've been talking here about how we can organize here better. Because people don't realize Cook County is one of the blackest areas in America. It is. It's one of the blackest parts of our country.
They realize it. That's why they work so hard to divide it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And so with that being said, is that we need to organize a little bit better.
Right.
And that means having equal representation. And I mean, really equal representation, not just, saying that we like equal representation and getting a few token Black people elected in high office. And then the rest of us stumble around for the lower seats looking like, hey, we need real equal representation. And so that's what I want to organize, is getting, and not just Black women and not just brown women, but just women of color in general. We have Asian women that are severely disenfranchised. We have Indigenous women that live here, that this is actually their land we're living on, and they're severely disenfranchised. So we want to give those people a voice too, and just organize them better. I was just telling a lady today, it's so many people, they don't even know how to fill out the paperwork to get to run. They can't figure it out. So why are we treating them like that? Why are we not having classes to teach people how to run for office? Because at the end of the day, we want a better community, right?
Yeah,
why do we have arbitrary laws about it?
But even in this situation, I don't think the training would even work, because some of these things seems like I got you, right? If the administrative error in the book is, it tells our candidate that they only need 200 signatures because they used the wrong year to calculate the numbers, that's an administrative error on the clerk side, which that wouldn't have made any difference. Carmen, why don't you tell us what are your once you get back on the ballot, what are some of the things that you're looking to change in terms of the sheriff's office?
Well, the first thing is that meeting the statutory obligations of the office. A lot of people, and one of the reasons I decided to get in this race in the first place is that, sitting at home, watching the news every night with everyone pointing at each other, and no one mentioned the sheriff's office. No one mentioned Tom Dart's name. It was like he was hidden, like the invisible man. And having worked for that office for 26 years and knowing how that office impacts the quality of life of every resident in Cook County, and that he wasn't being held accountable, and that people really weren't expecting anything from a sheriff's office with a $619 million budget, was frustrating for me.
Yeah.
To say the least. So the first thing is meeting our statutory obligations. When you talk about things like electronic monitoring, that's something that, no, the sheriff right now doesn't get to decide who goes on electronic monitoring, but it's because he gave that right up. He gave that up to the courts, and then he got rid of all the programs. Mm-hmm. So even now, those people who qualify for electronic monitoring don't have any programs to participate in, so that when it comes time to sentencing and they're in front of the judge with their attorneys, they have nothing to mitigate their sentence, like participating in substance use programs or GED or vocational training or behavioral therapy, anything like that, so that the community that they're in accepts part of the responsibility of helping them get to where they need to be for true reform.
Yes.
Instead, you make the community fight that individual being let out on electronic monitoring because they know the sheriff isn't watching them, isn't making them participate in any programs. Yeah. So the community is afraid of them, further pushing them away. How do you expect them to get any better? So that's the first statutory obligation. The second one is warrants. You have people out there, there's over 65,000 warrants in Cook County. Now, those are for violent offenses. You can have people, those are people who've been arrested and sentenced, maybe violated their probation, didn't complete what they were supposed to complete, and in other cases, just didn't show up in court. The sheriff's office should be working to resolve those warrants by enforcing them and by working with the judiciary and the communities for programs such as, we're going to have a warrant program here, we're going to partner, if you come here, just like they do expungement fairs.
Yeah.
Where you can come in, you can have a judge there. If you go there and you motion it up, this is going to be the agreement between the judge that's there, the state's attorney's there, and the public defender's there. Come on in, you can motion up your case, they'll quash the warrant and give you a next court date so that you can go on with your life and take care of your case, so you're not running around worried that you're going to get picked up around the next corner. For those individuals who truly want to resolve that warrant. For those individuals who are running away from the law, they need to get picked up.
Yes.
That's how you deal with it. You just have to deal with the warrant issues. There is a way of meeting your statutory obligations and still being compassionate. And that's why I say there's nothing like a mother to do that job, because you know how to discipline your children and still let them know that you love and care for them. And that's why we need to be leaders. That's why we need to be in offices. So those are two of the biggest things. The last thing is improving policies and procedures in the sheriff's office now that are killing the taxpayers. You're talking hundreds of millions of dollars that the county is paying in lawsuits for sexual harassment, for unfair labor practices, for hostile work environment, simply because he allows Tom Dart, and we don't have to say he, Tom Dart allows the administrators that he has brought in to run that office without any clear direction. And, you know, the employees those officers, those deputies do good work every day. You can't continue to beat them down and think that they're not going to, you know, go to their union and stand up for themselves. And the county keeps paying on that over and over again. In the meantime, you have, you know, the jail population has been cut in half since, just since 2017, but the budget's increased another 30%. How do you explain that? The last thing is opening up the books. People need to see where the money's going. And I plan on showing them where their money's been going, so they have a voice to decide where best it needs to go. Because lawsuits isn't one of them.
No. Miss Ruffin, are you still there?
Stuff that I was cute, because when he was leaving, he came.
Miss Ruffin? Well, I was gonna, because I know she's a candidate running for office. Well, in the meantime, does anyone have any questions for Ms. Carmen? Any questions for her? I am again juggling 3 different platforms, trying to keep up with it, but I've give up on YouTube. So if you, I'm doing YouTube this week. I'm trying to figure that out. But in any event, if we don't have any other questions, again, I thank you for joining Tea and Conversation. Welcome to the show. I am excited because I do have Carmen Navarro. I like Carmen Navarro. I just like that name, right? I have Carmen on the show, and I'm glad that she decided to join us. And if you have questions, we want to open it up and allow you guys to ask. It is our Mother's Day special. We don't do a Sunday show. So all of these are women that are running for office, juggling that difficulties of being a parent and at the same time trying to do some good in their neighborhood. So if you have questions, let's go ahead and open it up and ask Ms. Carmen those questions. When Ms. Ruffin comes back, wherever Ms. Ruffin is, Ms. Ruffin.
Hello, I'm sorry. My team was calling me. They putting my fundraiser together. I apologize. What did I miss? I'm sorry.
No worries. Make sure you raise some of that money for Tea and Conversation. Ms. Ruffin, what are you going to do? I mean, I heard Ms. Carmen. I know that you've been on Tea and Conversation before, but what are some things that you would like? What are some things that you would like to see once you are in that
First
position?
Of all, Carmen kind of mentioned the programs. There are programs there. They were offering GEDs, because I work on the school wing. They were offering mental health to some of those kids who were alcoholics or who were drug abuse. So those programs were there because I actually worked the tiers. I'm bringing them back, boot camp, women's justice. We got to get a hold of these young men before they leave the streets.
Yes.
I mean, leave the jail. My apology. So there's a lot of programs that I'm going to work and bring back that I actually worked, especially the GED, because a lot of them in there can't even write their name. They can't even spell their name. And all they know about is I asked them personally, what are you in here for? They showed me a finger gun. They think it's a joke. And we got to get a hand of that. Christmas time. I remember in roll call, it was 2 of us. People come in there just to get drugs. Did you know that we that we give them drugs just so they can make it through the next day? Why are we giving us this? Why are we making it a resort? It's jail. So while they in there, if we get the right programs, and get out, they won't be repeat offenders.
Yeah.
So that's one of the first things. Bringing back all those programs that he immediately got rid of. Second of all, my officers don't feel safe. You know, I have to go and to a county and walk by while a guy masturbate in front of me. And dark.
We can't hear you, Ms. Ruffin.
Job before you took the job. It's not, why should I have to deal with that? So yeah, they're in different colored jumpsuits. They're in the green jumpsuit for masturbation. They're in the yellow for protected custody. And then you have the population. But why do we have to deal with that as women? And the women divisions are no different. They put the women in an open dorm setting, which is unacceptable. Those women cat fight, run out, then the officers are in jeopardy. Our officers are not safe out there. So that, you know, that's another thing that I'm going to do.
Yes.
And the main thing I'm going to do is the thing that Carmen is fighting. I am making Cook County Jail police. It is time. Every county is police.
What exactly?
Don't care about a sheriff police. He don't care about that courts, and he don't care about that jail at all. And I know that. So right now the feds is in there. I'm hearing $400 million is missing. Missing. That's a lot of money missing in that jail.
Mm-hmm.
And the feds in there.
Yeah.
So the first thing we need to do is clean up that Cook County. It needs to be cleaned up.
Yes.
And it's not going to be an overnight process.
No,
but we
it's going to take
start
time.
somewhere. And
we
we
got to
gotta
start
come
somewhere.
together.
Thank you again, Ms. Ruffin and Ms. Carmen. If you are candidates, I wish you had told me. I would have pinged you in. I would have. But if you are candidates, I know if you're running for judge, you can't talk politics, but you can introduce yourself. So I would hope that you would introduce yourself. Anybody here other than Ms. Carmen and Ms. Ruffin that are running for office, if you're a judge, I get it. I know how this works. I've worked with enough judges in my time, and I'm working with some now. So if you'd like to introduce yourself, you have the floor.
Hi, good evening. My name is Janita Marshall. I just joined. I'm running for judge. Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm running for judge in the 5th Judicial Subcircuit.
Okay, and where is that at?
The 5th Judicial Subcircuit covers 26th Street to 75th Street and the Lake to Western.
Okay, and tell us about your experience. Why should we vote for you?
So I believe it's time to change the narrative. I actually come from a background of public service. I began my career in education. I went from education to direct service case management. It was there in the courtrooms that I felt like the litigants looked like me, but none of the representation looked like me. So I went to law school, came back to work in the very same courtrooms with the very same families that I was working in the trenches with.
Yeah.
And I began working for the Cook County Public Guardian's Office. I was there for about 16 years. And then I went from there to DCFS because, of course, we all know that the department is having a number of different challenges. So I consider myself a change agent. In instances where I see that there needs to be change, that's where I position myself. So I went from the Public Guardian's Office to DCFS, and I believe it's about changing the narrative. So it's not just about, we need to look at knowledge, background, and experience. I think new perspectives need to be brought to the bench. So we need to look at diversity from a much broader perspective. Oftentimes, most of the people that make it to the bench come from backgrounds of state's attorney's office where they were prosecutors or public defenders, but a lot of times they're not looking at those of us that come from backgrounds of public service. It's almost as if we're being punished for that. When, in my own humble opinion, becoming a member of the judiciary is the ultimate act of public service. And I feel like we're oftentimes glanced over because of the backgrounds that we come from. But I believe that my experience and my background would bring a new perspective to the bench. And I think that's what's needed now.
Fantastic. Well, I wish you luck. Are there any questions for her? Anyone have any questions?
I know she's running for judge. It's tough. And believe me, I'd like to ask all candidates that a lot more questions, but I also appreciate the hard work that you guys do. You got to kind of look nonpartisan. Who is the other judge? Is there another judge, person running, another candidate running for judge here?
Yes, there's another candidate.
And if you are, listen, guys, I'm giving you the benefit of the day. You know, I can bust your chops. You are running for office, but you don't have your camera on, right? You got to turn your camera on, right? And then this is just my advice to you, because people want to, they like it's kind of like ordering a food without seeing it, right? You just don't know what you get. Turn your camera on. Let us get familiar with you. So if you're running for office, let us see you. Who's the other candidate? Tell us your name and what seat your office you're running. Is it
My name is Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
Thank you. How are you? I'm Jackie Marie Portman Brown, and I am also running for judge in the 5th Judicial Sub-Circuit. There
Okay.
are 2 vacancies. There's 2 vacancies in the 5th. So Janita and I are not opponents. We are both running for the 2 seats separately. So you can support both candidates if you so choose to do so. I was born and raised in Inglewood, spent my whole life in Inglewood. I'm from Inglewood. I've seen what happens in Inglewood. I have lived through what all of us have had to live through. And that is why the sub-circuits were created. They were created so that underrepresented individuals could ascend to the bench, and not only ascend to the bench, but they could bring that experience with them to not only educate the people that are currently sitting there, but can also show more compassion to the individuals that come before them, because you understand their plight. And it is important to have people from the community represent the community and rise to these positions, because they're the ones in the trenches doing the work and seeing what needs to be done.
Hi, Judge Brown. How are you?
How are you? Good to see you, Carmen. And I wanted to tell you, you are 100% correct, because I know there was a program where the sheriffs coordinated with the judge and they did excellent work until someone pulled the money from the program. It was the Cook County Sheriff's officers who were exclusively going out and picking up individuals on those warrants. And it was a success. They were picking them up within 24 to 48 hours. And it became so great, Carmen, that the defendants would start turning themselves in because they knew the sheriffs were coming. So that is an excellent point, and it's something that I've seen and I know it worked, but unfortunately, the money was withdrawn from the whole system.
Ms. Brown, Judge Brown, so I just peeped that. So you sound like a judge already. I mean, you already sound like you've been in that seat. So what I'm going to ask is, if you are running for judge, please put your information in there, because I'm certain that the people are going to be asking. So put your information in the chat so we at least remember your names, because Ms. Brown, your phone, your identification on this thing says iPhone, okay? So I'm just going to go to the polls looking for an iPhone when I do the voting, right? So put your name and on in the chat. The other thing is, we talk about Carmen and Ms. Ruffin. We talk about Tom Dart. Listen, these judges are cutthroat too. They challenging each other probably as bad as some of these other seats. Did you find yourself experiencing that, Ms. Brown or Ms. Janetta? Did you find yourself experiencing that? Because I've seen some other candidates, Ms. Roper, some other candidates that are running for office, and they're running for judge. I thought that it was kumbaya when you're running for judge. They going after each other like pit bulls too.
No, absolutely. I agree. I was challenged by my opponent, and it was a shotgun challenge that took probably about a month and a half to fight. It was all frivolous. Ultimately, I was on the bench. I got on the ballot, and I had more than twice the number that I needed.
Okay.
So what they do is it's a way to keep you from actually focusing on your campaign, because you're dealing with the challenges, you're spending money that of course you aren't budgeting for necessarily. So this is definitely and judges races, I wouldn't imagine would be that way. Technically for judges races, it's supposed to be as far away from politics as possible.
That's what I would think.
As we can see, and I think just to what Jackie mentioned earlier, sub-circuits were created for a reason. And in my view, that's to allow the community, the people that actually live in those areas, to vote on the judges that they want to see on the bench. But oftentimes you still have the politics coming into it. You still have those individuals being endorsed or supported, by those in power. And that takes away from the entire purpose that sub-circuits were created. So yes, absolutely. I went through that's actually what I dealt with. I'm now on the ballot. So thank God. But yes, it definitely took me away from the campaign for about a month and a half, and it had me to spend money that, of course, I would have loved to spend in other places.
Listen, so here's the thing, okay? In the judge seats, they normally, and you guys, it's just a whole nother world, right? Because you pay the money. You can either pay the money or you can just run, right? I mean, that's how I feel like it is. I mean, I may be simplifying it, but it just seems like an extortion job. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but it just seems like you pay and you can run with us. If you don't pay, you're on your own. I mean, what I mean, you talking about ballot access? Does that even is that a thing in judgeships?
It should be, but clearly the way you just put it out there is not. Absolutely not.
Okay, because you could have just paid the 40, I guess, right? You would have been on, nobody would have bothered you, right?
What I can say with that is, right, go ahead, Jackie.
No, please. Go ahead,
no, it's fine. No, I was just going to say that when it comes down to the Democratic Party and the slating process, I mean, I won't say a whole lot about it, but what I'll say is that's also another example of where they limit ballot access. And even if you were willing, I'd say, to pay the 40 to have their support, one, it doesn't guarantee anything necessarily. No. That's for sure. Other than the fact that you spent $40,000 and maybe you won't have anything to show for it when it's all over, because we can all tell from a lot of the more recent upsets with elections is that a lot of the people that were being supported by the Democratic Party did not prevail.
Okay.
And that is what's driving the Democratic Party's fear now. And that's why they are willing to throw everything they have at good challengers to the incumbents, because we have shown over and over again that we are not going to beg for permission to run. We will ask for support.
Yes.
But we are not asking for permission. And that is their problem. That is their problem. That's what started with a lot of us when we started, we were all getting along very well. And then all of a sudden, a week before slating, the party comes out with this loyalty pledge. If we slate you, you cannot support anyone else who's not slated, even if they're a Democrat. In what world does that even make sense?
Exactly. Or they promise support for you not to run against them. And then I know many people who they've promised support to not run against them. And then they still don't support those people in the future. So they get you to agree. They get you to agree to not run against the party. And they say that they'll give you the party support later down the line. And I know many people who've done that and then did not get the support and are still in positions where they weren't slated.
Ms. Brown, Ms. Marshall, do you think it'd have been easier if you just ran countywide?
Well, the problem with running countywide is that that's a much larger area to cover. So in part, sub-circuits were created because they're more affordable. They give people of color who may not have the same resources the opportunity to run and to be voted on by the people in their community. So if you run countywide, that's a race that's potentially 4 to 5 times more expensive, I would say, than running in sub-circuits. So in part, I didn't run countywide because it's a lot more expensive.
Yeah, the countywide, like you need like $250,000 just to run countywide. I mean, and that's like to just touch the tip of the iceberg. And most of those people end up paying like $500,000 or some crazy mess like that just to get a countywide judgeship. And like they said, like, I mean, if you talking about, hey, I'm state's attorney, that's all I have, and I'm the first person in my family to even, graduate college, let alone go to law school. And now that's what you're looking at. And now you're talking about, well, run countywide. You like, where am I gonna get the money for that at?
Yeah.
It's just not affordable.
Well, I mean, okay, I got to pivot, guys, just a little bit, and I'm glad that we're getting the juices flowing, but I got to go into one of the things that I wanted us to touch on before we leave here tonight. Yes, I got all of the women on here tonight, What about Kevin Samuels? What are we thinking about Kevin? Yes, I'm going there. It's Mother's Day weekend. We were just talking about some of these other things. I gotta ask the questions, guys, because it's been blowing up all over the place. What are your thoughts? I mean, this is the way people get to know you.
You want me to sound off first?
No, you be quiet. I'm putting you on mute.
No, she needs to go first. Don't bring
No,
listen.
Carmen, I want you to go first, okay?
They running for office. I'm trying to have my sister's back.
Listen,
Yeah,
they running for
I
office.
appreciate that.
This is
But let me just tell you
conversation.
something. Let me just say this.
This
He
is
bashed
tea and
women
hold
like
on,
the way he
Jen.
did
Hold on,
Adam.
Jen. This is tea and conversation. There's no right or wrong answer, but it is nice to have women of color on here, especially, and just to hear your opinion about this thing. It's no right or wrong answer. I'm not gonna let you bash the man. I'm just not gonna let you do it. You just ain't gonna do it. That's a double negative, okay? But I'd like to know what your feelings are about the Kevin Samuels. And if you haven't looked at one of his shows, just reserve your comment. But go ahead, Ms. Navarro. You see that smile?
Well, because I don't like to speak on something I didn't see myself. I heard a lot of conversation. So my opinions are based on the conversations I've heard, which is why I don't like to talk about it unless I've seen it myself. So I have not seen it.
Great answer. Ms. Marshall, Judge-elect Ms. Marshall.
I have not seen it either. I've only heard hearsay. So
Michelle, you awfully quiet today, but you know I see you on the screen. What is your opinion, Miss Michelle?
Well, Adam, I mean, of course, I'm sorry that the man died. I'm sorry that any, human life is taken, and abruptly, and, he was a young man. So I'm sorry that he died. As far as his opinions, my opinions differ. That's all I can really say.
Well, you know what? It's so interesting because we had a show not too long ago where we were talking about asset women, right? Michelle?
Yes, Adam, you did.
Okay, so we had a show where we were talking about that, and many of his points kind of wavered on that. Miss Judge Brown, what's your opinion?
My opinion also is that I am sorry for any loss of life. However, as a judge, and I'm speaking it into existence as though it were, as a judge, we are not allowed to comment on hot topics and hot litigation because some of these opinions are not supposed to come directly from us, because our information should be based on all the evidence, the witnesses, the testimonies, and everything that we receive. And like the other individuals, I did not witness his comments. I did not see his comments. They are all hearsay items. And those are just things that I also prefer not to speak on unless I had direct evidence to confirm or deny, because you know how people tell you stuff, and then they pass it along.
Hey, listen, this is not litigation. He ain't nobody.
Well, let me just tell you,
and I'm throwing a proverbial tomato. You guys are killing me tonight. I'm throwing the proverbial tomato.
Did you hear me, Adam? But I did hear what he had to say. But when you tell women that they use goods after the age of 35, I don't care what happens. I'm sorry. Rest in peace. Bye.
So do you have a clip, Adam, or something that we can all listen to or watch?
I mean,
can you
listen, I can put a whole bunch of clips up.
I do.
And Carmen, let me see something.
Carmen, I do. I do. Really, honestly, I do. And listen, unlike some of the people here, I do think that some of his points were tough to hear, but I think that they're also, some of them were necessary. Okay. I will, if we had time, I don't know if we got time, I would show some clips, but I think his points were well on. Josh, what do you got to say? Josh, you can speak up. Greg, what about you, Greg? These women, don't be scared of them.
I'm not going to be scared of these women. For them to be even fiercer and more ferocious than they are.
Okay.
So I back up everything that is said by Jenny. I back up everything that is said by Carmen and Judge Jackie.
Oh, you know what? You guys are killing me today. Okay. You know what? You guys are in any event. You know what? I still think that you got to listen to his show. I know he's controversial. I do think that if you listen and got a perspective for some of his points, I don't think that his comments are that bad. Unlike Jen, I do believe that some of the things that he said were tough, but they needed to be said. In any event, Carmen, you have been a fantastic guest. Go ahead and take us home. You can give the last 2 minutes, and then I'll go around and everybody can say their little. Since y'all didn't want to get into the Kevin Samuels thing, I'm not gonna twist your arms. But go ahead, give me your 2 minutes speech.
Well, I just, first of all, thank you very much. And to all the other women, it's, we have to keep moving. I'm just praying that we get to the place one day where it is really ballot access and it is about what's best for the community, and that those who truly want to serve are allowed to do so without having to ask for permission. I'm just a wife, mother, and grandmother who wants to leave the world better than she came into it. My family left the city of Chicago when my brother was murdered in 1981, and we moved to Skokie. And here we are in 2022, and my husband and I struggle every day as to whether we need to move our family out of the city. That is ridiculous. Also, this fight to empty the jails and to get people out of these 6 by 8 foot prison cells, while at the same time not providing the resources in the communities. I ask you to realize and picture this. All we have done with the current criminal justice reform and the bill is expand the size of a jail cell from 6 to 8 to entire zip codes, because the resources aren't in the jail and they aren't in the community either. We have done no one a service with our current criminal justice reform. We have to do better. Our children and our families deserve better. So put your money where your mouth is. Fight for voter access. That includes ballot access. Allow people who want to run for office to be on the ballot. Competition is good. I deserve to be on that ballot. I'm fighting to be on the ballot. And the name Carmen Navarro-Dracone will appear on the ballot on June 28th, 2022, because my mother did not teach me to fail.
Ms. Brown, you're next.
Thank you first and foremost for allowing me to speak. And I too agree with Carmen. It is time out for politics, the same old, the way things used to be. It is time to allow the people who live in these communities select who should be in these political positions. And that's all positions. And if that means we have to change some things and things need to be changed, because no party should be able to dictate who should or who should not be allowed access to do the same. And specifically when it comes to judges, how can the judge say they're going to be impartial or independent when they're accepting money and or favors and or whatever services they are receiving from such large conglomerates that are normally in control of a lot of things? We're supposed to be independent for a reason. And part of that reason is because we won't have these looks of impropriety. If you're independent, you're independent. Give everyone access. Let the people choose. They have a right to choose. And I ask you to choose me on the election day, Judge Jackie Marie Portman Brown, or Jackie Brown, as many of us probably would like to hear, because I know her well and watched a lot of her movies.
Jackie Brown, all right, the baddest girl in the whole dang town. Now Miss Brown, and I'm going to ask you the same question, Ms. Marshall. Do you feel that that to run for a judge, that, and even the sheriff, should that be a nonpartisan seat?
I believe it should.
Me too.
I believe it should. I believe it should, because they, especially with judges, they want you to be independent. How can you be independent when you're claiming a party?
That's correct.
It's an oxymoron.
What about you, Ms. Carmen? The sheriff is the sheriff defends Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, everybody. Why should it be a partisan seat?
It should not be a partisan seat. I said from the beginning, even when we were going around collecting signatures, I'd knock on doors and I'd hear, well, are you a Democrat or Republican? And because I'm not for, whether it was defunding the police or whatever their argument was. And I said, well, I am a Democrat. I'm running as a Democrat, but the job of sheriff is chief law enforcement officer. And I'm to protect all of Cook County, regardless of your party. So it definitely should be, but especially judges. Like I found that shocking when I found out, because I had never been, I'm like, wait a minute, you have to declare a party. So then if you're slated, how can we trust you're going to make a decision and you're not afraid that they're going to knock you off the next time around? Like,
well, that's what Donald Trump was trying to allude to. Ms. Marshall, go ahead.
I agree. A judge's primary duty is to protect the public. And in doing so, they should be fair, they should be just, and they should be a judge for all people. So requiring judges to take one position versus the other trumps that. I mean, it cancels it out. So I agree that those seats that judges shouldn't have to choose, or they shouldn't have to appear to come off one way versus the other. And I agree with everything that Jackie Portman Brown said, everything that Carmen said as it relates to, I think the bottom line is people should be able to go back to the grassroots days, the Harold Washington days of being able to ensure that all people have access regardless of their designation. So absolutely, I agree.
Wow. Well, with that being said, I did find, and no, Jen, I'm not going to play the clip that you have, of course, because I know that you went to the worst of the worst clips.
But he said it. He said women over 5 that are 35 and not married, leftovers.
I would
we
only
leftovers.
play,
I'm done.
Okay, I would play only a clip that I would choose. It's easy to get a soundbite and be able to destroy the man's character over a soundbite. But until next week, we are going to leave it just at that. And hopefully each and every one of you, Miss Carmen, you stay in touch with me, have a safe and happy campaign. The weather's changing. I was actually out there with my Daisy Dukes on today, trying to politics. Yes. And it definitely got me and provoked some response. I don't know if they're going to vote for me, but it did.
Right.
I know that's they will remember me. Okay. I had my Prince jeans on. Prince jeans on. And that is important. So until next Monday, we will have more tea and conversation. All of you are always invited. You don't have to have an invite, Carmen, Ms. Brown, Ms. Marshall. You always invited. It's generally on Zoom. I am trying to step it up a notch because now I'm trying to incorporate the YouTube. So guys, grow with me. So I'll see you on the campaign trail. I am also running for committeeman in Bloom Township. So I got much work to do, Carmen. Okay, so I hope to hear from you soon. But until then, have a good night until next Monday.
Thank you. Jenny, send me that clip. Don't send it to me. I want to. Okay.
I could have played it. Carmen, don't. Carmen, don't just take a biased one. Look at Vlad TV. Look at his interview on Vlad TV. Don't just take a bias.
It don't matter. After he said that, and he said Lizzo was fat and ugly.
Okay.
I'm done after those comments. Like,
Whatever. Until next Tuesday, good night.
Until next Tuesday.
Or next Monday. I'm sorry. Listen, Jen is throwing me off. This is the same thing that Kevin Samuels was talking about, okay?